Okay, so here's the arrest report. It's from April 3rd, 2023 at 2 a.m. The St. Johns County, Florida. Let's see, at their residence, Caylen Deller, height 5'9", date of birth is 4/1/94, age at the time she was 29. And it gives a few more details about their residence. So the charge is felony aggravated battery. Person uses a deadly weapon. And the description from the officer is below. I'm going to read it. The undersigned certifies and swears that there is probable cause to believe the above named defendant, who was positively identified by FCIC and CIC, and then it gives the ID number, on the third day of April 2023 at approximately 1:35 a.m. at 7120 Old State Road, 207 Lot A, Elkton, within St. Johns County, violated the law and did, then and there, aggravated battery, deadly weapon, domestic violence. The victim was asleep when he woke up to the suspect, Caylen Deller, stating he made her this way, while holding a knife against him. Caylen moved the knife against the victim's left arm, which caused a superficial cut. It should be noted, Caylen and the victim have a child in common who was asleep in a nearby bedroom during the incident. Probable cause was found to charge Caylen with aggravated battery, DV, based on her displaying and using a knife and causing bodily harm to the victim. So they marked it as DV. A few other notes there. And then these are some questions that they asked. Has your partner ever threatened to kill you or use a weapon against you or your children? And it's marked yes. If yes, explain this incident tonight. And then it asks, has your partner ever strangled or choked you? And that's marked no. Does your partner have access to firearms or any weapons? And that's marked yes. Knives. Has your partner ever attempted or threatened to commit? You can see that. And they marked yes. And due to past drug abuse, I'm assuming that should be issues, not sues. Does the victim currently reside in St. Johns County? Yes. Okay. And then they put the officer's signature. And then here's her mugshot and all her booking details. It says her occupation is grooming at Beachgate Stables. When at the time of her arrest back in November of 2024 for the disappearance of her boyfriend, Chad Mullen, and she listed that her occupation was she owned a business called Stormy's Stables, and that's the last place that Chad's phone pinged a tower. So I guess this is before she started that business. And this is also, at first I thought this might have been between her and Chad Mullen, but they don't have a child together. And then I'll show you the next page that tells you who the victim was. Okay, so this is a notarized document from the state of Florida versus Caylen Savannah Deller. Felony, the 7th Judicial Circuit for St. Johns County, Florida in 2023. Her charges are aggravated battery with a deadly weapon. The state attorney for 7th Judicial Circuit of the state of Florida, and as such, prosecuting attorney for this court in the name of and by the authority of the state of Florida, charges that count 1, Caylen Savannah Deller on or about April 3rd, 2023 in the county of St. Johns and state of Florida did actually and intentionally touch or strike Kenneth Waddell against the will of Kenneth Waddell, and in doing so used a knife, a deadly weapon, contrary to Florida statute 784.045. For the state attorney, Jennifer, Lieb. And then down here it just has the notary. So Kenneth Waddell was the victim, and he is the father of her youngest child. So at the time they were together, this is who her victim was, and she did get charged with aggravated battery against him. And this document just shows that they did assign her GPS monitoring with the ankle bracelet. So domestic violence contract, pretrial release order with global positioning system, electric monitoring. And then they had her initial all of the rules for wearing it, that she must refrain from all contact with the victim. Again, he's listed here, Waddell Kenneth, communicating orally or in any written form, either in person, telephonically, electronically, or in any other manner, either directly or indirectly, through another person or third person with the victims or other persons named. If the victim tries to contact you, you are violating this order if you communicate with them. This means you are required to hang up the telephone, disregard any mail, and should contact law enforcement at the request of the defendant. If a child is in common, the court designates blank, a third person, to have contact with the victim for sole purposes of facilitating the defendant's contact with the children. So they did not list anyone. She must refrain from criminal activity of any kind by not violating any federal, state, or local law. Must not use or possess a firearm or ammunition, which she did use one in her most recent alleged crime that she's currently under arrest for. Defendant shall surrender any firearms and ammunition in defendant's possession to the St. Johns County Sheriff's Department. Defendant shall file the receipt of all firearms turned into the St. Johns County Sheriff's Office with the clerk of court immediately upon service of this no contact pretrial release order. So this is before pretrial. This means this is before they went to court. I don't know that they did. This is all the documents that I found. May return to the residence of, and it lists their address. One time only at a time, arranged with law enforcement with jurisdiction over the residence to obtain personal belongings, including clothing, items of personal hygiene, and tools of the trade. A law enforcement officer with jurisdiction over the residence from which these items are to be retrieved must accompany defendant to the home and stand by to ensure that the defendant vacates the premises with only such personal belongings. So basically, I guess that was his place and she was not allowed to return there. Or either way, if it was a joint place, she was not allowed to return there, except once accompanied by a sheriff to get her belongings. So he must have a restraining order. This is the condition of her pretrial release. So she had to follow these things to get bonded out. And then she signed on here, domestic violence GPS order, setting bond and placing defendant with GPS electronic monitoring administered by AEM in conjunction with the St. Johns County Sheriff's Office, SJSO, and the court having considered the criteria as set forth in Florida Rule of Criminal Procedure 3.131 and its subparts, and the court being otherwise fully advised in the premises, hereby finds as follows: based on this court's analysis of Florida Rules of Criminal Procedure 3.131, the court finds the defendant should be released with global positioning system, GPS monitoring. The defendant's release with GPS monitoring is part of the defendant's other conditions of release. The court's finding herein is in addition to those factors and reasons set forth on the record in this and or previous bond hearings. The defendant shall have no contact with the victims, Waddell Kenneth, or their vehicle, and shall not come within 1,500 feet of the victim's residence, place of employment, or any other address listed below for the purposes of this order. These addresses will be considered exclusionary zones. And then they listed this address. He no longer lives there, so it doesn't matter if the address is listed. Defendant's bond was set at $2,500. And it goes on further about the GPS device and rules of the order, the restraining order, no contact order. And then it just has some more information here, how they filed this copy, who got a copy of it, how they filed the order. And then you can see she had to sign down here. I'm wondering, I was confused as to whose initials these were, because I would think she was the one that had to initial these things, but that doesn't look like those would be her initials. I'm not, it looks like somebody RC or SRC. Let me see who signed this. SRC. I can't tell whose initials those are. But so interesting. So obviously she was charged with domestic violence and aggravated assault with a deadly weapon prior to the situation with her most recent ex, Chad Mullen. And this just shows some escalating behavior. Obviously, she became violent with a weapon before, and I guess the victim, luckily he wasn't severely harmed, and he was able to get the restraining order and move on. From what I understand now, he currently has, of course, custody of their child, but I think he did already have, I'm not sure what custody arrangement they had, but I think he already was having custody of her for the most part. He doesn't live in the state of Florida, so I'm not sure what their arrangement was, like with visitation, but she was supposed to be going to meet her daughter and pick her up or visit with her when she got arrested for this most recent situation. So I'm not sure if he has custody and she visits or what, but obviously this shows some escalating behavior. And if you watch my previous video, the part 1 with all of her various arrests, it looks like she has about 9 or 10 prior arrests before the major one that she's in jail for right now, awaiting trial, that she's alleged to have done. So very concerning. It looks like she's had quite a few situations over her lifetime, and I am going to continue to look into this case and follow it. It's very interesting to me, and hopefully we'll get some more information as she has court coming up on the 2nd. So I'm planning to follow this case and keep you guys updated. So keep tuning in. Thanks for watching, and like and subscribe.